Good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome to this week's episode of School Business Tech. Today, I'm going to be joined by Becky Baines, who's the Managing Director of the Ink Bin. And as we know, online education is changing rapidly the face of schools. And as education shifts towards a blended delivery of both online and on-site, we need to look at the environmental impact of this change. In today's session with Becky, we're going to be going over just what has changed in schools and with online learning and both on-site at the same time, how this is impacting on the environment and what are the realities of this and how it's taking a toll on our energy consumption, and more importantly, what people can do about it if they want to kind of counterbalance this. Becky's been in education for 20 years, predominantly in mainstream primary and secondary, but also working in specialist organizations and charities. The Ink Bin is recognized as an eco fundraising organization. Started off in April 2019, specializes working with schools and PTAs, and they're passionate about the climate crisis and environmental concerns over the last 2 years. Good afternoon, Becky. How are you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good. Right. So we'll kick straight off with our first question today. How does home learning affect the carbon footprint of a school?
I think it's a really complex issue. I think obviously we're all at home working. So as well as the school's still running and in place for those key workers, there's also everybody at home consuming an awful lot more energy at the moment. I think it's a complex issue, and I think we're not going to completely find out the impact of it until far later on, because in other ways, we're driving less to schools, we are potentially getting out and about and enjoying the environment a lot more and educating people on climate crisis by being out and enjoying being in our green spaces a bit more. The main thing we are focusing on at the Ink Bin is educating people on the use of printing and the home worksheets that there are being sent home by lots and lots of different schools.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, because obviously as we're transitioning to online learning, schools are kind of almost using their kind of previous practices of on-site stuff and then trying to replicate that kind of at home, and that's having a real challenge, I suppose, with printing being one of the main kind of needs that are now happening at home rather than on site. And they're using printers that are probably a lot smaller, a lot less efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's a general statistic that 375 million of the small ink cartridges are used every single year globally. Wow. And sadly, 8 out of 10 of those are chucked straight in the bin. I would imagine that number is going to be exponentially higher this year, not just with homeschooling, but with all of us working from home as well.
Yeah. So what are the environmental positives that have come from online learning? So, that's the challenge, but what's actually one of the benefits of online learning in the environment?
I think as far as the online learning goes, I mean, I know I have 2 young children who are primary age school, and I know that they actually tend to engage better with the online stuff than sitting with a worksheet. A lot of the schools at the moment, especially primary, are focusing on just revisiting concepts and keeping kids' brains active rather than teaching them new concepts. And I think so much of that can be done in a fun way online, or dare I say it, even better, out and about in the environment, whether it's cooking, going out into the green spaces and getting science taught that way, maths, English, anything. So I think it gives us the opportunity to think beyond the a paper-based curriculum.
Yes, and we're seeing platforms like obviously Teams, Office 365. We're seeing things like Google Classroom, and there's almost these kind of real-time interaction, isn't there? I mean, certainly some of the work that one of my teams has been doing is literally like teachers can share documents, they can get students to literally complete them, and they're literally live updating, which is phenomenal.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? I mean, I still do a little bit of teaching myself. I've got a GCSE student, and he will email me his work across. I will annotate it all on that document and email it back. We've completely gone paper free these days. Saying that, on the flip side, I know that my kids' school aren't quite so up to date with that, and they're either emailing us the paper packs or we're going down to the school to collect them. So I think there's a huge anomaly between what's going on across across the country.
Yeah. So, and for all the school business managers watching that who today and who are going to be watching this later on, and this is going to be resonating with them, and they're kind of going to be thinking, yeah, I know, but we've got to do this because we're in this current situation and we haven't quite figured out the way to get around this. What can they actually do to kind of counterbalance some of the print work, some of the energy wastage and the bigger carbon footprint that's going on?
I think from our point of view at the ink bin, it's one of the things that we can do is to help them with recycling their ink cartridges. So we focus on home use ink cartridges at the ink bin. So we focus on supporting schools and PTAs to collect in families' home use cartridges. We don't work with toner cartridges ourselves, but on our website, we have lots of information about how schools can recycle those cartridges that they're using in their office photocopiers as well.
Brilliant. And I suppose just also thinking about, if you've got to have somebody come in to collect paperwork like you did before, what is the carbon footprint of that person potentially driving to school to collect the paper, to drive back,
and a lot of paper usage as well. A lot of paper. I mean, I suppose when we're in the classroom, we use our interactive whiteboards to display something. I know a couple of weeks ago, I started off with the paper packs at school, and there was so much colourful, exciting resource given to me that actually, sadly, I didn't need in the end, and it ended up in my recycling bin. I pretty soon realised the environmental impact of that, and I've stopped all paper packs from school, and I've actually personally been very brave and stopped an awful lot of the printing at home as well. I'm now trying to get my kids learning in practical ways that I create.
Very good. Okay. And final question for me today, really, which I give everybody who comes on the show, but what are your predictions for kind of school business technology over the next 3 to 5 years?
I would love, with my teacher hat on, to see portals that allow us to upload far more practical and meaningful, in my opinion, education. So we do it a lot in the foundation stage, but I don't see there's any reason why we couldn't be having those portals right the way through to 18, where kids, youngsters are learning in much more practical ways, and rather than handing in homework, they're uploading a video or they're uploading a photograph of what they're actually doing, which again is a brilliant way of reducing paper and ink as well.
Yeah, and I think certainly as the technology develops, I mean, just some of the features that have been coming out from some of the companies like Microsoft around online learning and delivery have been just, pounding out there at a rate of knots. And so it would be great to sort of see this kind of consideration for the environment incorporated into some of their thinking, not just about the facilitation of stuff going out, but how do we get it back in super efficiently?
And I think as teachers, everybody is so aware that we have a culture of having to find evidence. So I think longer term, there's that tying up of maybe a learning objective with the evidence and a way of tracking that evidence with the kids.
Brilliant. Okay, well, Becky, it's been lovely having you on the show today. Really enjoyed it. Love the conversation as well. And let's hope that we've got some big tech barons that are out there and baronesses that are watching the show that are kind of like, this is a great sort of thing that we should incorporate in and try and help the environment. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on. All right.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks, Ryan.
Bye now. Bye.